do you recommend people who drink tap water instead of bottled to add trace minerals? I actually encourage people to hydrate with fat because it's low deuterium and not with tap water. You don't see a tribal person running around with water bottles or drinking. Occasionally they may have a bit of from leaves. They'll use like ostrich eggs or emu eggs in Australia. The Aborigines in sort of areas that are very like desert type of environments, and they will actually from plants which are deuterium depleted water because the solar radiation hits, and the UV actually knocks out that neutron and basically changes and increases and lowers the actual deuterium content, the heavy water, so it makes it lighter water inside the actual plant membranes, which basically means that that water is lower in deuterium. So they will actually squeeze onto that into an ostrich egg like the Sand people, the Bushmen of the Kalahari do, and a number of other tribal people. But generally speaking, it's only when things are very dry and they may use a bit of hydration from leaves, which is low deuterium. But the majority of time they are producing most of their most of their water from fat. So if you want water, you need to get it from fat. To be able to get it from fat, you have to have your insulin to be in the lower range. You only need it to be spiked with a big meal, protein meal, and then come back to the normal range so you can access fat, because that fat, those free fatty acids that are going to your mitochondria are also going through the Krebs cycle, and that's where your metabolic water is produced. That's the water you should be hydrating your body with, not tap water. Now, for my coffee, I do use not tap water, but I use Evian Alpine water from the French Alps, and I only use it for my coffee. So that's the only water I take in for my coffee, and I have some Alpine water, and that's probably going to be stay there to that level, and it has been there for a couple of days. I actually had to put a bit something over it so no particulates would go into it, and that's only when my throat gets dry after talking for quite some time that I'll use a bit of that. But generally speaking, it takes quite a few hours before I even get to that threshold. But today, because I've since my post-COVID sort of thing, I've still got a bit of, it hasn't completely gone away, so it's a bit of a nuisance. But I'm keeping on, and just keeping with it. But anyway, just one thing about trace minerals: the Alpine water is very high in trace minerals. You only have to do something. Put it in basically a pot. Make sure the pot is super clean. Put it in the pot. Boil the Alpine water. Then put it into a glass and look at the mineralization that's actually in the pot. You'll be surprised. You won't get that from tap water, because tap water has far fewer, because once they actually put it through the membranes and all that, tap water loses a lot of minerals, and the only thing you get in there is fluoride. Well, the body needs a very tiny, tiny, tiny amount of fluoride that it can get from the diet. It definitely doesn't need it in the large amounts. Not good for the thyroid either. So in that regard, I'd give tap water definitely a miss, and I wouldn't bother with trace minerals. I've only used trace minerals in the past, and I've used it basically. I was using it in that way, but I don't anymore. And I don't bother anymore with trace minerals because I'm using this Evian water, tap water, and it does the trick. It's got plenty of trace minerals, and I get enough from my diet to cover me, because I do have some restrictions. That's what it's got. The Italian Alpine water has 149, and regular tap water is 155. 155 is basically right at the middle of what most sugar is, where actually table sugar is 155 parts per million. So, yeah, if you drink a lot of tap water, like a lot of people do, you're actually putting far more deuterium in your system than you should, that actually even your body can deal with to deteriorate. So, not a good thing. Definitely not a good thing.